Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, view those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up-and-coming around the Lego world. I'm your Minifigure host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? You doing good? You feel good? Good. That makes me happy. I need to know, and if it's not, I promise, things get better. You gotta push through. But today, you're not just going to get to hear me. I know, sad face. You are going to get to hear one of the most uniquely detailed Lego design employees that I've met in a long time. And what is weird is when I reached out initially to the ambassador program, I was like, hey, could I get on a Speed Champions designer? I was hoping, hey, what about Chris Stamp? And I told you on one of the other episodes, I don't remember which one it was, but I was like, hey, what about Chris Stamp? You know, I've talked to Chris a couple times. Good dude, knows his stuff. Big car guy. Let's go ahead and get into it. Well, I was told, he's moved along to something else. Is there somebody else that you know or any other Speed Champions person? Sure. And I was like, okay, this guy. All right, this guy. I don't know this guy. I've heard of this guy. I've seen this guy's name on different things that have been, sold at this point in time, that he has helped design at some way, stage along the process of designing and turning around and selling it to the public. But I've never met this guy. Then I saw a photo. I was like, we are two peas in a pod. Shaved head. Oh, a brother in shaved headness. Hey, I'm not bald. I do it for my swim team. So I hope you enjoy the interview. It has been a blast. I thought it was great. Now, some of the questions in there, they're a little kind of, you're like, yeah, there might be a cringe factor. You're like, wait, what? But I need you to take it in the sense of like, an open air. And if you've ever had an opportunity to interview with me at a convention or digitally, you're not going to expect anything different. You're going to be like, haha, but so anyway, I'm going to preface it with that. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview. All right, guys, I promised you an interview today. I've been waiting for this one. It's been a couple weeks in the making. I'm here with Marin, and he is a product designer at Lego Group or something like that. One of the cool jobs. Anyway, Marin, thank you for joining me on the show today. I've had an opportunity to do interviews with Speed Champions people before, but this is the first time I've had an opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here and to talk Speed Champions.
So you currently work Speed Champions, where we've seen some cool Speed Champion stuff come from you. Hopefully, in the future, as things trickle out. But currently, what do you do at the Lego Group? What is your title? What is your big thing? You get up and you walk in the morning and you're like, this is my job. This is what I do.
I am a model designer. This means I work with bricks. So I don't design bricks. We have element designers who do that. I don't put graphics on bricks. We've got graphic designers who do that. I work with existing bricks and I figure out how they come together to make a model. So
you have the fun job. Most would say you have the fun job.
Yeah, I guess a lot of us here have fun jobs, but I love my job. It's a dream job for sure.
All right, so I've got a bunch of different questions here for you. So obviously you live in Denmark. Majority of the year when you're not on vacation, you get to go home. What is your favorite Danish food since living in Denmark?
Sorry, favorite Danish?
Favorite Danish food.
Oh, I need to think about this. For a second. Well, funny enough, I think that would be what they call the Swedish sausage dish. And I don't know if they eat it in Sweden or if it's just something that, they call it a Swedish dish here in Denmark. But I know I'd never had it before moving to Denmark. And we have it from time to time at the canteen at work. and it's basically just chopped up sausage and baked or cooked potato, don't know, and some kind of sauce, and you eat it out of a bowl with a spoon. It's funny, but it's good.
It sounds pretty good. We're going to call it Danish food. You've had it there. We're going to call it Danish. It doesn't matter if it's a Swedish meat dish or not. So you said originally you were from Croatia, born in Croatia. I don't have a whole lot of geography with that part of Europe. What town or city were you born in? The reason I ask is because I do have a listening audience in Croatia, and who knows, maybe somebody already, grew up there or may even know you.
Yeah, I grew up and I lived almost all of my life before moving to Denmark in Zagreb, which is the Croatian capital. So I moved from a place of almost 1 million people to Billund, which is 6,500. It was a big change, but a very pleasant change. I realized how much I did not enjoy life in the big city.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I live in a small town in Texas, and I am more than okay with not going to the city, like ever. So I have a couple questions for you. One is going to definitely sound a little bit odd, but I think it's kind of funny. And you're the first one I'm going to ask. It's going to be something breaking ground here with any designer interview moving forward. So are you in a relationship at this point in your life?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm married. Oh,
that's perfect. So have you ever used a pickup line with Lego in it with your significant other, your spouse?
I have not. No.
All right. Well, if you had to do it over again, would you? Do you think that she would be like, yes, that worked?
Possibly. Yeah. We met in music school. We played together in a like a chamber orchestra band type of thing. But fairly early on, I told her, one day I'm gonna get a job as a Lego designer, and I'm gonna move you to Denmark with me. And she was like, "Oh, cool."
She was on board. See, that's right there. That's what you need right there. That's all you need. All right. So Croatia, favorite food out of the way. We know what you do for Lego. So when did this Lego obsession start? Obviously, most people start as a kid. When did it start for you?
I was probably 2 years old. That's what my parents tell me. My older brother and I, we inherited my dad's collection of Lego bricks. So we had a couple of hundred bricks to start with. And then very quickly, it became the only toy we asked for. Like every Christmas, every birthday, it was always Lego bricks. So I just kept on building, didn't have a proper dark gauge, remained active through university and teenage years before that. I guess early adulthood, that was when I was most active in the fan community. And I guess, I'm a fan since, not as active in the community, but I still build mocks at home from time to time. I still visit the major blogs and, watch all the channels and read news and all of that. Go to conventions from time to time. I've been with the company for almost 5 years now.
So you're pretty active in the community, I would say, in general. Some designers are, some aren't. Some are, they shout out their favorite blogs and they go down the list of like, and I did this and I did this and I did that. And then, there are others that just kind of, they're in it for the day and then they kind of go away from it. It's really fascinating to hear the differences between, well, everybody is different, but employees in general, especially product designers like yourself, it's a really cool insight to hear.
Yeah, we've got colleagues from different backgrounds, and we have a lot of people who come from the fan community and then drop out or fade out. And I've noticed, as I said, a lack of, or not lack, like a drop in activity of my own or engagement with the fans. in the same way I did before, simply because, we all now work with bricks 40 hours a week. And that means that in our spare time, we have time for other hobbies. So that usually sort of a shift happens. And then another thing is, because when we think about bricks, we think about bricks for work. Then if you have the creative energy to do something, then it's typically something work related. So you just do it at work, or you do it for work, and then you can't really post it on Flickr because it might become a product in the future.
No,
I'd say,
go ahead.
Yeah, we are still active and, actively doing stuff with bricks. It's just a different context.
No, I get it completely. Being a teacher myself, the last thing I want to do is talk about kids and teaching when I get home. It's a thing when you're in a certain career, you just, like you said, you're giving all that energy, and then, there's a shift, there's a hobbies change and whatever. So, you mentioned hobby, and you mentioned people, that come from the fan community that are designers. We've seen it so many different times, and more recently, some of the Lego Masters contestants. I don't know if many of you out there listeners know this. You actually, I don't know if you still have it, but you had a YouTube channel prior to working with the Lego group. And I got to tell you, your Mech Monday, after I did some research about a month ago, I was like, okay, all right. I mechs are up my alley. Like, hey, we're good to go here. So why start a YouTube channel?
Okay. So I did one video I can't remember, maybe it was late 2017 or something like that. And it was, I think it's called Lego Modular Mech Bay Diorama, something like that. It's been a couple of years, but that video did not take off until it was shared by another sort of big Lego Mech YouTube channel. And then I just got thousands and thousands of views. And I think it was maybe in half a year, I got to 500,000 views or something like that. And that's when I thought, because this was before I joined the company. So I thought, ooh, maybe there's, maybe I could do something on YouTube, because, I like to build. My younger brother, he likes to edit videos. So if we joined the two, we could make a fortune. So I started building these mechs, weekly mechs as a challenge. And my brother would edit the videos, and we did this weekly upload, and it just wasn't happening. Every video would get maybe 1,000 views. So with the help of the one video that got hundreds of thousands of views, I could monetize the channel, but that was still the big money maker, even though it was pennies. But yeah, it was. So I guess TLDR is I wanted to try it out to see if I could be a YouTuber. Didn't work. Luckily, I got this job, which I think I enjoy way more. But I do still love mechs, and I got to design one here for Creator 3-in-1, and
Sure did.
I've since moved to Ninjago, where hopefully I will design many more.
All right, so save the Ninjago talk. We've got to catch that later. But you're talking about your YouTube channel real quick. I think it's great. It was a hope, a dream, a desire, and it kind of, for lack of a better term, crashed. And then it kind of launched you into, I guess, where you're at now with the Lego group. But that video you're talking about, I will post it in the show notes, guys, for you to check it out. It's currently sitting at 927,000 views. So like you said, the comparison compared to your other videos where you have 1,000 or 3,000, 1,500, it is night and day. But hey, it's sent you to where you're at. And I know the Ninjago community will be glad to have you, especially with the Mech Monday stuff once this gets released.
Yeah, thanks. I did think, every now and then I check the statistics for that video, and I think it just needs one more big share in some kind of community to reach that 1 million, because if it continues as it's doing now, it's probably never going to reach 1 million. It's that slow. But if it's just shared in the right place, we might get there if the algorithm picks it up again.
That's the weird thing about that stuff. It's all algorithms. Anyway, so you've done Lego before. I'm gonna, well, not before. I mean, prior to your current career, where it was just a hobby before. I need you to pick a side, though. DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Oh boy, I think you chose the right side. I definitely think you chose the right side. But hey, there's some people out there that are not going to be very happy yet, but it'll be okay. So I don't know if you're aware, it is Jurassic June for all the Jurassic Park lovers, Jurassic World lovers that are out there. And the Lego Group has done a bunch of Jurassic stuff in the past. Do you have a favorite Jurassic Park set? It's okay if you don't.
I don't, but I have been eyeing a couple lately. I've got 2 kids. One of them is 2.5. So pretty soon he'll be ready for the 4+ sets. And there's the, I don't know what it's called. I don't know the number, but it's got a bunch of baby dinosaurs and pteranodon. It's like a little nursery set with, I think, 5 dinosaurs.
The
I don't have it yet,
but
I guess that would be my favorite.
Okay, that works. Well, it's funny because you don't even have to give a set number, and I guarantee you there's somebody that is screaming right now at the other end of this saying it's this. I'm not going to look it up. They can look it up, or they already know. So that's the fanatic behind some of the community. But anyway, well, that's cool. At least you have a favorite. Even if you don't have it yet, that's still cool. So what is the coolest mech? As you said, you're moving into Ninjago, which we're going to touch on next. What is the coolest mech you've ever seen released from a Lego Group?
It's got to be the just released Cole's Titan Dragon mech. That thing is awesome. I cannot wait to build that. Yeah,
that is a solid choice.
It's got sliding knee armor. Do we even have to discuss anything more?
That's it. It wins. It takes the prize for the year. All right. So you had mentioned you're pushing into Ninjago. You just told me at the beginning of this. And what was that like for you? Obviously a mech person. I'm all on board. I love the idea of that. But what was that like for you? Is it kind of like, hey, there's a job opening in that spot, or hey, we're moving you here? How did that come about?
Well, actually 5 years ago at the job interview, when I was asked if you could pick any product line to work on, what would you pick? I said Ninjago. And here we are 5 years after that, and I'm moving to Ninjago. It's not that I was actively working on moving to Ninjago for 5 years. I loved my time in Creator 3-in-1. I also loved my time in Speed Champions, but it has always been in my top 3 picks for the next product line to work on. And it took a bit of time, the stars have to align. It's a big puzzle. Here it's a big company. You cannot just move teams on a whim, but we made it work. And now I'm going to design some dragons and mechs and temples, and I'm very excited for that.
I can't wait. I just really can't wait. So I know the main meat of this, you were, I guess you are still a Speed Champions designer. But when I reached out, I was like, hey, can I get somebody from the Speed Champions team? And at that time, I thought Chris Stamp was still there, and I was told, oh no, he's moved on. I believe he's moved on to City, I believe is what I was told.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't making that up in my head. So when I was told, they said, hey, we have somebody else. I was like, oh, okay. Somebody I've never talked to before. And then I went through and I was like, oh, I saw what he's designed with Speed Champions. So you have a number of Speed Champion sets. The most recent one that is, well, I guess 2 that have just recently come out earlier in the year. was the Ford Mustang Dark Horse and the BMWs, the GT3 and the hybrid V8. And I know you did the GT3. Thank you, Brickset, for letting me know all this. But Speed Champions, how was your experience with that? Let's just start there. How was your experience with it?
It was great. The first Speed Champions set I worked on was the Aston Martin double pack, not this year's F1 and the safety car, but 2 years ago. It was the Vantage GT3 and the Valkyrie AMR Pro. That's the first models I worked on, and I was still a part of the Creator 3-in-1 team at the time, because Speed Champions was a smaller product line and there wasn't really a dedicated team. It was more of a seasonal thing where you would jump in for a couple of months, work on a product, and then go back to your old, your home team. And so I got to work on that one. And then the following year, I worked on the Porsche 963, the hybrid Le Mans.
Oh, yes.
It was in the same setup. And then after that, they decided to make Speed Champions an all-year team, and they asked me to move, and I gladly accepted. And that's when I worked on the Dark Horse and the M4 GT3, and also the little polybag McLaren F1 car. Yeah, I also did do the Valkyrie polybag model as well.
Yeah, you've definitely had your fingers in Speed Champions for a moment, a couple of years. So one of the things with Speed Champions, I'm always blown away by just the little, and Chris Stamp had told me this years ago, just how you guys kind of just sit around and you'll make just little assemblies at a time. Like maybe you'll make a front clip, maybe you'll make a rear end or something like that. And then everything kind of slowly starts coming together. You get an idea. So how is it building Speed Champions different than, creating mechs or, I don't know, cozy houses? What is the main thing when you're taking bits and bobs and putting them together? What is the main difference between anything else that Lego designers have?
What I like to say about Speed Champions is it's the most mock-like designing I've had the opportunity to do here, because it's, you have a reference and you have to stick to it. You have also a set size. You can't just make the model smaller or bigger because that fits. And so you have to translate an existing thing into this medium, which is plastic bricks. So it's I guess the most AFO-like thing I've worked with, because you're trying to find NPU, not for the sake of NPU, but for the sake of staying true to the reference. So you're always looking for that piece that gives you the perfect shape to represent a thing, even if you are only looking for the 10% of the piece and you are trying to bury the remaining 90% inside the model. That's just, what we do. And that's what the fans love. So it's become a part of the Speed Champions design language and identity. I guess that's what separates Speed Champions from the other product lines.
Yeah,
I would definitely. Your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree with you there that it is a different language in its own. It definitely differentiates Speed Champions from anything else in the catalog, basically, just because you do have those new parts usages. For those of you that don't know what MPU means, it's one of those iconic things when you tear open a box and you start building, you're like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. Or that is really cool. I can't believe they use that piece right here. Every single time, because I've built every single one of them, I've always had that moment of giddiness where it's like, look what they did here. I can't believe they use a cheese wedge in this color, in this piece or whatever. So it's really cool with what you guys do and have done. And it just continues to blow me away every single time they do it. And being a giant racing fan, anytime that I can get models that are of actual, world endurance or Formula One, it's like, hello, I'm happy.
Yeah, thanks. It does put a lot of pressure on us. For example, the Porsche 963, it was received well, but not as well as some of the other cars because the building in that one is pretty conventional. You know, there's a couple of little areas where you might say, oh, that's interesting. But most of that model is just simple stacking of plates, one on top of the other, and then a bunch of stickers. And, you know, people say it's very true to the source, but it's just not mind blowing. And that's the thing, you know, people now expect to be blown away by Speed Champions. And that's a little bit of a pressure on the designers because sometimes, and this was the case for the Porsche 963, you can make it look like the real thing by using completely conventional building techniques, but then that might be negatively received by the fan community. And
Yeah,
it's not that we are actively trying to do quirky builds, but we're also sort of encouraging them in Speed Champions because we know they're appreciated.
Yeah, it's a very fine line. Without a doubt, it's a very fine line. Um, I've got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll get out of here and let you go carry on with your evening. Favorite theme, whether it be past or present?
Oh boy. Well, I'm tempted to say Ninjago, but just for the sake of making the conversation a bit more interesting, I would say Rock Raiders.
Wow, that is a first.
Really?
That is a first. 80% of the time I usually get Bionicle. I'm not gonna lie. And I put in my notes here, bet he says Bionicle.
No. Funny thing is, I actually never had Bionicle as a kid. I think the first Bionicle set I got, I was 18 or maybe 19. I won it at a building contest.
Okay, that's kind of funny to me that you want it. You're like, I guess I'll take it, you know. Anyway, so we already know. I was going to ask you, you know, what kind of theme would you like to go to if you had an opportunity without incriminating yourself? But hey, we already know you're a part of Ninjago. Yeehaw! Congratulations. That's going to be so much fun.
Thanks.
So, any words of encouragement that you would give to someone that may want to be a product designer, a kid growing up that's like, you know what, I'd like to work with Lego bricks as an adult one day. What are some keywords that you could give to anybody that is listening?
You don't have to have formal education in design. I don't. I studied languages. I've got an MA in translation. And yet here I am, you know, I work as a model designer, so it's possible. Don't be discouraged if you don't have formal education in design, or if you think that's not the education you want. We've got designers of so many different backgrounds. We've got former cooks and translators, teachers, board game designers. Well, I guess that's design. Librarians, car mechanics. Yeah. So just stay in touch with the bricks, build as much as you can, get to know the system. That's what I did, and that's what helped me a lot.
So what I'm hearing is if you have a passion for it, you can make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's a way nicer way to say it than the many words I put to it.
Well, the last, you know, you had mentioned about being you know, in translation studies and stuff like that. I mean, you kind of are translating, you know, you're translating, you know, the language of brick into a final product. You know, there's like a bad rim shot there somewhere, you know. Well, Marin, I appreciate you taking the opportunity to come on and chat with me. I will definitely be beating Sarah's door down again in the future for Ninjago once your hand is in some of this stuff, because I just can't wait. Seeing your mech designs, knowing what opportunity you have to bring to it, I can't wait. You're just a great addition to the team. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure.
Man, that was fun. I told you would not be disappointed. You can't be disappointed with a Lego designer interview. You just can't. And the reason is because you get such an in-depth look into their personality as a person and not just as a designer. I don't want to ask the questions of like, hey, what color shirt do you wear on a daily basis to work? You know, I don't want that kind of thing. I want to know, did you use a pickup line to pick up your wife? And did you use it involving Lego brick? Because if you did, hello, that's amazing. There's got to be a dating book out there somewhere with that in there. Without a doubt. At this point in time in life, there's got to be. But anyway, I hope you guys had fun listening to it. Going through editing it initially, although I hate Microsoft Teams audio. It is so bad and I can only do so much with it. It's the way the files are compressed and it's just bad. Microsoft, you can be better. You can have a better platform with that platform. Just got to do better. So with that in mind, we're going to pop out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you are around the world, whatever season it is. I hope you enjoy the rest of it and the day after, and so on and so forth. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.